Evil. The very word evokes a visceral reaction. It stirs unease, a primal warning from the depths of our being. And rightly so, for evil is not merely the product of imagination or religious tales, it's a reality. A force as ancient as humanity itself, lurking in the hearts of some, waiting to spread chaos and despair. But here's the real danger. Evil is rarely obvious. It doesn't always arrive as a thunderstorm or a dramatic upheaval. It creeps in quietly, disguised in charm, masked with a smile, or cloaked in the guise of help. You may have already encountered it. Perhaps it's closer than you think, a friend who always leaves you doubting your worth, a colleague who thrives on undermining your achievements, or even a family member who brings toxicity into your sacred spaces. This is the insidious nature of evil. It thrives in proximity. It's not some abstract force, it's personal. It's deliberate. And it's dangerous. So why should you listen? Because the cost of ignoring the signs is far too high. An evil person doesn't merely harm your outer world, they infiltrate your mind, your emotions, and your values. They distort your sense of reality, rob you of trust, and leave you doubting your very capacity to distinguish right from wrong. This isn't just about others. It's about fortifying yourself against the subtle yet devastating forces that aim to derail your life. This talk will guide you through the 8 evident signs that reveal the presence of an evil person in your life. Not in vague terms, but in clear, practical insights that empower you to identify, confront, and break free from the chains they seek to place on you. These truths aren't just lessons, they're tools for survival, for reclaiming your freedom and flourishing in a world where malevolence often hides in plain sight. Brace yourself to uncover the reality of evil, not to fear it, but to face it, to understand it, and to overcome it. Because once you recognize it, you reclaim your power, and no force, evil or otherwise, can hold sway over a person who has awakened to their own strength and clarity. Evil often begins its work in whispers. It doesn't shout, it doesn't announce itself with grandiose gestures or overt declarations of hostility. Instead, it infiltrates the subtle cracks of human relationships, exploiting vulnerabilities and magnifying weaknesses. Evil thrives in ambiguity, in the spaces where things go unspoken but deeply felt, where boundaries are unclear and where trust is assumed without scrutiny. This is the space where it operates best unseen, unchallenged, and underestimated. It begins with the smallest of acts, perhaps a cutting remark masked as a joke that leaves you questioning your worth, or an act of neglect disguised as a moment of forgetfulness. These actions seem harmless at first, even forgivable. But that's precisely the point. Evil rarely starts with the obvious. It knows the human psyche too well for that. Instead, it tests the waters, pushing boundaries little by little, waiting to see if you will notice or protest. And often you don't, not because you're weak or naive, but because you're human. You want to believe in the goodness of others, in the inherent decency of those around you. This instinct to trust, while noble, is what malevolence exploits. Evil is patient. It doesn't rush its work. It doesn't need to. It knows that over time, the accumulation of small infractions, those seemingly minor moments of disrespect or deceit, will create a ripple effect. The occasional lie becomes habitual dishonesty. The casual manipulation becomes a pattern of control. The small betrayals grow into devastating acts of treachery. And before you know it, you find yourself entangled in a web so intricate, so deeply woven into your life, that it feels almost impossible to break free. But why does evil do this? Why does it seek to undermine, to destroy, to cause harm? The answer lies in its very nature. Evil is parasitic. It cannot create, it can only consume. It thrives on the energy, the hope, the light of others. It seeks to drag down what is good and pure because it cannot stand to be reminded of its own emptiness. Evil despises beauty because it highlights its own ugliness. It despises truth because it thrives on deception. It despises love because it feeds on hate and indifference. To confront evil, you must first recognize it. And this is where the greatest challenge lies. Evil doesn't look like the caricatures we imagine. It doesn't always wear a scowl or speak with venom. More often than not, it presents itself as something entirely different, something familiar, even comforting. It may wear the face of a trusted friend, a loving partner, or a respected authority figure. It may come to you in the form of someone who claims to have your best interests at heart, someone who seems to offer support or guidance. But beneath this facade lies something entirely different, a force that seeks to undermine you, to control you, to use you for its own ends. And here's the thing, you may not want to see it. It's painful to confront the reality that someone you care about, someone you've trusted, could be operating with ill intent. It's easier to make excuses, to rationalize their behavior, to convince yourself that you're overreacting. But this denial only serves to strengthen evil's grip. By refusing to see it for what it is, you allow it to continue its work unchallenged. This is where courage comes in. The courage to open your eyes to see clearly even when the truth is painful. The courage to name what you see even when it feels easier to stay silent. And the courage to act, to set boundaries, to say no, to walk away if necessary. This is not easy. It requires strength, determination, and a deep commitment to your own well-being. But it is absolutely necessary. When you confront evil, you are not just protecting yourself, you are making a stand for something far greater. You are affirming the values that sustain a healthy, meaningful life: truth, integrity, compassion, and justice. You are refusing to let malevolence dictate the terms of your existence. You are reclaiming your power, your agency, your right to live in peace and authenticity. And here's the most important thing to remember: you are not alone in this fight. Throughout history, countless individuals have faced the same challenge. They too have had to confront the presence of evil in their lives, to wrestle with the darkness that seeks to pull them under. And they too have emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Their stories remind us that while evil may be powerful, it is not invincible. It can be confronted. It can be overcome. The key lies in vigilance. Pay attention to the small signs, the subtle red flags that signal something is amiss. Trust your instincts. They are often far more accurate than you realize. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, who share your values, who encourage your growth. And most importantly, cultivate your own inner strength. The stronger you are within yourself, the less power evil will have over you. Evil relies on your silence, your passivity, your unwillingness to act. It thrives when you doubt yourself, when you question your perceptions, when you let fear hold you back. But the moment you stand firm, the moment you say enough, you begin to strip it of its power. You remind it in yourself that light is always stronger than darkness. That truth will always outshine deceit. That love will always conquer hate. So do not fear the presence of evil. Recognize it, confront it, and above all, rise above it. Because your life, your values, your potential, these are worth protecting. And no force, no matter how malevolent, can stand in the way of a person who has claimed their right to live in truth and freedom. The thing about evil is that it doesn't simply exist in the world around you. It has a way of infiltrating your very perception, distorting how you see reality. One of its most insidious strategies is to make you doubt yourself. When you encounter someone who operates from a place of malevolence, they often aim to twist your sense of right and wrong, your understanding of truth, and even your grasp of your own identity. They sow confusion, not through direct confrontation, but through subtle manipulations that leave you questioning the ground you stand on. It might start with a simple comment that undermines your confidence. Perhaps they frame it as constructive criticism or as advice meant to help you grow. But underneath that veneer of helpfulness is a seed of doubt planted deliberately. Over time, these seeds take root. You start to wonder if you're not good enough, if you're too sensitive, if you're the problem. And that's exactly what they want. By eroding your self-assurance, they gain the upper hand. They create a dynamic where you become dependent on their approval, their validation, their perspective. What's even more dangerous is the way this dynamic can trap you in a cycle. You begin to adjust your behavior not to honor your values or pursue your goals, but to avoid their criticism or disapproval. You silence yourself to keep the peace, to prevent conflict. You minimize your own needs and desires because asserting them feels like a risk. And the more you compromise, the more power you hand over to them. This is how evil works, not by forcing you into submission, but by convincing you to give up your agency willingly. You might tell yourself that it's not so bad, that you're just being considerate, that this is what it means to maintain a relationship or navigate a difficult situation. But deep down, you know something is wrong. You can feel it in your gut, in that unease that lingers after every interaction, in the exhaustion that comes from constantly walking on eggshells. That feeling is your warning sign, your inner compass trying to alert you to the truth. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It only strengthens the grip of the one who seeks to control you. So why is it so hard to confront this reality? Why do we resist seeing the malevolence in someone we care about, someone we've trusted? Part of it is fear. Fear of conflict, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. But there's something deeper at play as well. We resist acknowledging evil because it forces us to face the uncomfortable truth that not everyone operates from a place of goodness or integrity. It shatters our illusions, and illusions, for all their faults, are often comforting. They allow us to believe that the world is simpler, safer, more predictable than it really is. Yet, holding on to those illusions comes at a cost. The longer you deny the reality of malevolence in your life, the more power it has to shape your experiences, your choices, your future, and the more you let it shape you, the further you drift from your authentic self. That's the real tragedy here. When you allow someone else's darkness to dictate your path, you lose sight of your own light. You become a shadow of who you were meant to be. But there is hope. There is always hope. Because the same instincts that alert you to the presence of malevolence are the ones that can guide you back to your true self. The key is to trust them, even when it's difficult, even when it feels easier to ignore them. Trusting your instincts doesn't mean acting impulsively or without thought. It means paying attention to what your body, your mind, your soul are trying to tell you. It means honoring the signals that something is wrong and having the courage to investigate them further. Confronting evil requires strength, not just physical strength, but emotional and moral strength. It requires you to stand firm in your convictions, even when others try to sway you. It requires you to speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable or unwelcome. And it requires you to act with integrity, even when it would be easier to compromise. This is not a path for the faint of heart. It demands resilience, perseverance, and a deep commitment to your own well-being. But the rewards of this journey are immeasurable. When you confront the malevolence in your life, you reclaim your power. You break free from the cycle of doubt and dependency. You rediscover your voice, your courage, your sense of purpose. And in doing so, you set a powerful example for others. You show them that it's possible to overcome darkness, to stand up for what's right, to live a life of authenticity and integrity. The road ahead may not be easy. You will face resistance, both from the external forces that seek to control you and from the internal fears that hold you back. But every step you take toward truth, toward light, toward freedom, is a step worth taking. Because at the end of that road lies a life that is truly your own, a life not dictated by the whims of others, but guided by your values, your unique potential. So ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to remain trapped in a cycle of doubt and dependency, or do you want to break free and claim the life you deserve? The choice is yours, and while the journey may be challenging, it is also profoundly rewarding. Because every step you take toward confronting evil is a step toward becoming the person you were always meant to be. And that, more than anything else, is a journey worth embarking on. There is something profoundly unsettling about encountering a person who thrives on manipulation, deceit, and harm. It shakes the very foundation of our assumptions about human nature, doesn't it? We grow up, most of us, believing that people are fundamentally good, that with a bit of kindness, a touch of understanding, and a willingness to extend trust, we can navigate relationships in a way that fosters growth and harmony. And yet reality has a way of revealing the limits of that belief. There are those among us who take advantage of kindness, who twist trust into an opportunity for control, who wear masks of civility while harboring intentions that are far from benign. You know these people when you encounter them. Perhaps not at first. They are often skilled at presenting a facade of normalcy, even charm. But over time, the cracks begin to show. Their words don't match their actions. They twist narratives to suit their needs, often painting themselves as victims while subtly casting others in a negative light. They sow discord where there should be unity, doubt where there should be clarity, and fear where there should be trust. And the most unnerving thing about such individuals is their ability to make you question your own perception. They create a fog of confusion, leaving you unsure of what's true, what's fair, and what's right. This isn't just an unfortunate character flaw. It's a deliberate strategy. People who operate from a place of malice or manipulation understand, consciously or unconsciously, that control is easier to achieve when the people around them are disoriented and unsure. They weaponize ambiguity, using it to make others doubt their own instincts, their own judgments. And once they've established that doubt, they can begin to shape reality in ways that serve their purposes. Think about what this does to a person. Imagine the emotional toll of constantly second-guessing yourself because someone you care about or someone who holds a position of power over you has convinced you that your perspective is flawed, that your feelings are invalid, that your very sense of self is somehow inadequate. This isn't just harmful, it's corrosive. It eats away at your confidence, your autonomy, your ability to stand firm in your own truth. And it doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, insidious process, like water eroding stone. Now, the natural response to this kind of behavior might be anger or even hatred. It's easy to look at someone who causes such harm and see them as irredeemably evil. But that perspective, as satisfying as it might feel in the moment, misses a crucial point. People who behave in these ways are often driven by their own wounds, their own insecurities, their own fears. That doesn't excuse their behavior, not by any means. But it does provide a framework for understanding it, and more importantly, for responding to it. Because here's the thing, if you meet malice with malice, manipulation with manipulation, harm with harm, you risk becoming the very thing you're trying to resist. And that's not a path you want to walk. The challenge, then, is to hold on to your integrity, your timing in the face of someone who seems determined to undermine them. This is not an easy task. It requires strength, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to your values. But it is possible, and more than that, it is necessary. One of the most important steps in navigating this kind of dynamic is to set boundaries clear, firm, and non-negotiable. Boundaries are not about punishing the other person or asserting dominance. They are about protecting your own well-being, your own sense of self. They are a way of saying, this is what I will and will not accept. This is what I need in order to feel safe, respected, and valued. And once those boundaries are in place, it's equally important to enforce them. This might mean having difficult conversations, making tough decisions, or even walking away from relationships that are no longer healthy. These are painful choices, but they are also acts of self-preservation, of self-respect. It's also crucial to seek clarity. When you're dealing with someone who thrives on confusion and ambiguity, one of the most powerful things you can do is to shine a light on the truth. This might involve asking direct questions, seeking outside perspectives, or simply taking the time to reflect on your own experiences and feelings. Clarity is a form of empowerment. It allows you to see through the fog of manipulation and recognize what is real, what is true, what is yours to own, and what belongs to the other person. And let's not forget the importance of self-compassion. When you're dealing with a toxic dynamic, it's easy to fall into a pattern of self-blame. You might find yourself thinking, why didn't I see this sooner? Why did I let this happen? What's wrong with me? These thoughts are natural, but they are not helpful. You are not to blame for someone else's behavior. And the fact that you are even asking these questions is a testament to your self-awareness, your courage, your desire to grow. Treat yourself with the kindness and understanding you would offer to a dear friend. Recognize that you are doing the best you can in a difficult situation. Remember that you are not alone. There are others who have walked this path, who have faced similar challenges, who have found ways to navigate the complexities of dealing with malevolence while holding on to their own humanity. Their stories can offer guidance, support, and hope. And more than that, they remind you that healing is possible, that growth is possible, that a life of authenticity and integrity is possible, even in the face of profound adversity. This is not a journey anyone would choose, but it is a journey that can lead to profound transformation. It can teach you about your own strength, your own resilience, your own capacity for growth. It can deepen your understanding of what it means to live with integrity, to stand firm in your values, to navigate the complexities of human relationships with grace and courage. And in the end, it can bring you closer to the life you were meant to live, a life that is not defined by the harm others have caused, but by the strength and wisdom you have gained in the process of overcoming it. It is an unsettling truth of life that we are often surrounded by layers of disguise, both in others and in ourselves. There are masks we wear, sometimes to protect ourselves, sometimes to deceive, and there are masks others wear to hide intentions that can be anything but noble. When we talk about encountering evil, we must recognize that it is rarely presented in a form that is openly vile or grotesque. No, the most dangerous kinds of evil often appear cloaked in the semblance of goodness, appealing to your trust, your empathy, your desire to see the best in people. And that is precisely why it is so insidious, so difficult to recognize, and so damaging when we do. The presence of a truly malevolent person in your life is not something you detect in an instant. It is a revelation that unfolds slowly, piece by piece, as their behavior, their words, and their choices begin to weave a pattern that cannot be ignored. Perhaps it starts as subtle manipulations, small instances where their actions don't quite match their words. You notice how their charm feels calculated rather than sincere, or how their humor often carries a sharp undercurrent of cruelty. Maybe they display an uncanny ability to shift blame, to twist the narrative in such a way that leaves you doubting your own memory or judgment. Over time, these patterns accumulate, and you find yourself in a state of growing unease. What makes this process so difficult is our own reluctance to acknowledge what we are seeing. It is not just that we want to believe in the goodness of others, it is that admitting the presence of evil in our lives demands a response from us. It forces us to make hard choices, to draw boundaries, to distance ourselves from people we may have once trusted or cared for deeply. That is not an easy thing to do. It is much more comfortable to explain away their behavior, to rationalize it, to convince ourselves that what we are seeing is not as bad as it seems. But comfort is not the same as safety, and denial will not protect you from harm. The presence of malevolence in your life affects you in ways that go far deeper than the immediate conflict or tension it creates. It has a corrosive effect on your spirit, your confidence, your very sense of self. It fosters doubt not just about the other person, but about your own perceptions, your own worth, your own ability to navigate relationships with clarity and integrity. And that is exactly what a manipulative or malicious individual wants. The more you doubt yourself, the easier you are to control, to exploit, to harm. But there is a way out of this cycle, and it begins with one simple but profoundly difficult step: seeing things as they truly are. That means confronting the reality of the situation, no matter how uncomfortable or painful it might be. It means acknowledging that some people, for reasons that may be rooted in their own pain, insecurity, or fear, have chosen to act in ways that are harmful and destructive. This is not about assigning blame or seeking revenge. It is about clarity, about understanding, about truth. And the truth is the foundation of freedom. Once you see the situation clearly, the next step is to reclaim your power to set boundaries, to say no, to walk away if necessary. This is not about being cruel or unkind. It is about protecting yourself, about honoring your own needs, about refusing to allow someone else's dysfunction to dictate your life. And it is a process that requires immense courage, because it often means facing not only the external conflict, but also the internal fears and insecurities that keep you tied to the situation. There is a deep paradox in dealing with malevolence. On one hand, it demands strength, resolve, and a willingness to fight for your own well-being. On the other hand, it calls for an extraordinary degree of compassion, not for the person who has harmed you necessarily, but for yourself. It is all too easy to fall into the trap of self-blame, to look back on the relationship or the situation and think, I should have seen this sooner. I should have done more to stop it. I should have been stronger. But that kind of thinking only deepens the wound. What you need is the ability to forgive yourself, to recognize that you did the best you could with the information and resources you had at the time. Healing from the presence of evil in your life is not a linear process. It is not a matter of making a single decision or taking a single action and then moving on. It is a journey of self-discovery, of growth, of rebuilding, and it is a journey that will teach you more about yourself than you could ever imagine. You will learn about your strength, your resilience, your capacity for love and forgiveness. You will learn what it means to stand in your own truth, even when it is difficult, even when it is lonely. And in the process, you will discover a kind of freedom that is not just about being free from harm, but about being free to be fully and authentically yourself. This journey is not one you have to walk alone. There are others who have faced similar challenges, who have struggled and grown, and emerged stronger on the other side. Their stories can be a source of inspiration, of guidance, of hope, and they remind you that you are not defined by the harm you have experienced. You are defined by the choices you make in response to it, by the person you become as a result of it. The presence of malevolence in your life is not just a challenge to overcome. It is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to transform. It is an invitation to step into your own power, to claim your own truth, to live a life that is not dictated by fear or pain, but guided by integrity and purpose. And that, ultimately, is the greatest victory you can achieve, not just over the person who has caused you harm, but over the forces within yourself that would keep you from living the life you were meant to live. It is a profound and difficult truth to accept that some people in our lives are not merely indifferent to our well-being, but actively seek to undermine it. These are not just individuals who misunderstand us, nor are they simply caught in their own struggles and inadvertently cause harm. No, what we are talking about here is something darker, more deliberate, and more corrosive. It is the presence of someone who harbors ill intent, someone whose actions and words are calculated to deceive, manipulate, or destroy. This is not a reality we like to confront, and yet it is one that we must confront if we are to protect the integrity of our own lives. Such individuals often operate in ways that are subtle and insidious. They do not announce their intentions openly. They do not come into your life waving a banner that declares their harmful motives. Instead, they present themselves in ways that seem benign, even appealing. Perhaps they are charming, funny, or disarmingly vulnerable. Perhaps they know how to play to your sympathies, how to elicit your trust, how to make you believe that their presence in your life is a gift. And for a time, you might believe it. For a time, you might overlook the small inconsistencies, the minor betrayals, the moments that leave you with a vague but growing sense of unease. But eventually, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Their actions reveal a pattern of dishonesty, of exploitation, of deliberate harm. They twist words to suit their purposes, distort events to shift blame, and wield your vulnerabilities as weapons against you. They might isolate you from others, undermining your support systems so that you become more reliant on them. They might exploit your kindness, taking and taking without giving anything in return. They might gaslight you, making you question your own perceptions and memories until you begin to doubt your very sanity. The impact of such a person on your life is not limited to the immediate harm they cause. It seeps into your sense of self, your ability to trust, your capacity for joy and connection. It is as though their presence casts a shadow over your life, draining it of color and light. And the longer you remain in their orbit, the more difficult it becomes to see a way out. You may find yourself trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment, longing for them to change, to acknowledge the pain they have caused, to make amends. But deep down, you know that this hope is futile. You know that their behavior is not a result of misunderstanding or ignorance, but a deliberate choice. Recognizing this truth is the first and most crucial step in breaking free from their grip. It is not an easy step to take. It requires you to confront the painful reality of who they are and what they have done. It requires you to set aside the illusions you have clung to, the justifications you have made, the excuses you have offered. It requires you to face the fact that this person is not who you thought they were, and they never will be. Once you have seen the truth, the next step is to reclaim your power. This means setting boundaries that protect your well-being, even if those boundaries are met with resistance or hostility. It means saying no, even when it feels uncomfortable or confrontational. It means walking away even when it hurts to do so. These are acts of self-preservation, acts of self-respect, acts of self-love. And they are acts that require immense courage because they go against every instinct to appease, to avoid conflict, to maintain the status quo. But in taking these steps, you will discover a strength you did not know you possessed. You will find that you are capable of standing up for yourself, of protecting your own interests, of living in accordance with your values. You will realize that your worth is not determined by someone else's treatment of you, that you do not need their approval or validation to be whole. You will begin to see yourself not as a victim of their malice, but as a survivor of their attempts to diminish you. This is not to say that the journey will be easy or straightforward. There will be moments of doubt, moments of pain, moments when you question whether you have done the right thing. There will be times when you feel the pull of their influence, when you are tempted to return to the familiar patterns of the past. But with each step forward, you will grow stronger, resolute, more attuned to the truth of who you are and what you deserve. In time, you will come to see that the experience of dealing with such a person has not only tested you, but also taught you. It has taught you to recognize red flags, to trust your instincts, to value your own needs and boundaries. It has taught you about the depths of human darkness, but also about the heights of human resilience. It has shown you the importance of surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you, who respect and honor you, who bring out the best in you. And perhaps most importantly, it has reminded you that you have the power to choose who you allow into your life, choose how you respond to adversity, choose the kind of person you want to be. This power is yours, and no one can take it from you. It is the power to live a life that is not defined by fear or pain or manipulation, but by truth, integrity, and love. This journey of breaking free and reclaiming your power is not just about escaping harm, it is about reclaiming your life. It is about stepping into the fullness of who you are, unburdened by the weight of someone else's darkness. And it is a journey that, though difficult, is profoundly worth taking. For in the end, it is not just about surviving, it is about thriving, about living a life that is rich, meaningful, and true. When you begin to emerge from the shadows of manipulation, deceit, and harm, you start to see something remarkable yourself in a new light. The journey through the labyrinth of dealing with someone whose intentions were malicious often strips away illusions. But it also reveals an undeniable truth. You have survived. Not only that, but you've done so with a strength and fortitude that might have been hidden even from yourself. Yet survival is not the final chapter. It is merely the foundation upon which you now have the responsibility, the privilege to build a life of authenticity and meaning. This is where the profound challenge begins, because there is an enormous difference between simply existing and truly living. It is easy, after enduring the kind of pain and confusion that toxic people inflict, to retreat inward, to become guarded, to build walls so high that nothing good or bad can penetrate them. And while self-protection is necessary, even vital in the short term, it cannot be the place where you linger indefinitely. The risk, then, is that you might close yourself off not just from the harm of others, but also from the beauty, connection, and possibility that life still holds. To truly live is to confront the fears and wounds that have been left in the wake of such an experience. It is to acknowledge the damage without being defined by it. It is to refuse to let the actions of another determine the trajectory of your life. That requires a willingness to look inward, to take stock of the beliefs you have formed about yourself as a result of their influence. Because here's the painful reality. When someone works to manipulate or harm you, they often sow seeds of doubt, insecurity, and unworthiness. They make you question your value, your intuition, your very identity. And if you are not careful, those seeds can take root, growing into a narrative that is not your own but theirs. So, the first step in reclaiming your life is to uproot those false beliefs. That process is not easy. It involves confronting the painful memories, dissecting the lies you were told, and recognizing the ways in which you may have internalized them. It involves asking yourself difficult questions. Do I believe I am unworthy of love and respect because of how they treated me? Do I hesitate to trust others because they broke my trust? Do I shrink away from opportunities because they convinced me I wasn't capable? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones, for only by bringing those hidden beliefs to the surface can you begin to challenge and replace them with truths that align with who you truly are. You are not what they said you were. You are not the sum of their manipulations or betrayals. You are a person of inherent worth, capable of growth, capable of love, capable of great and meaningful things. But those truths will not implant themselves into your mind. They must be cultivated deliberately and consistently. That means surrounding yourself with voices that uplift and encourage you, whether they come from friends, mentors, or even the quiet wisdom of books and teachings that resonate with your soul. It means practicing self-compassion, allowing yourself to heal at your own pace without judgment or impatience. And it means taking small but courageous steps to re-engage with life, even when fear whispers that it's safer to hide. One of the most powerful ways to reclaim your life is to realign yourself with purpose. When someone with malicious intent has been part of your life, they often derail you from your path, pulling you into their chaos and using your energy for their own ends. In their wake, you may feel adrift, unsure of who you are or where you're going. But that feeling of uncertainty is also an opportunity, a chance to redefine what truly matters to you, to rediscover the passions and principles that give your life meaning. It might be a creative pursuit you've neglected, a relationship you want to nurture, a cause you want to support, or a skill you want to master. Whatever it is, let it become a beacon, a reminder that your life is yours to shape. Reconnecting with purpose also involves setting boundaries not just with others, but with yourself. It means committing to a standard of honesty, integrity, and kindness, both in how you treat others and how you treat yourself. It means refusing to settle for relationships that drain you, activities that dull your spirit, or habits that keep you stuck. And it means holding yourself accountable for the choices you make, recognizing that while you cannot control what others do, you have absolute control over how you respond. This journey toward living authentically and meaningfully is not without its struggles. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when the scars of the past feel raw and unhealed. There will be moments when you are tempted to retreat into old patterns of avoidance or complacency. And that is when you must remind yourself of this simple but profound truth: you have already endured and overcome more than you thought possible. You have already proven your strength. Now the challenge is to use that strength not merely to survive, but to thrive. In doing so, you also become a beacon for others. Your journey, your resilience, your refusal to be defined by the actions of another, all of this serves as a powerful example. You show others that it is possible to emerge from the darkness not as a victim, but as a person who is wiser, stronger, and more compassionate because of what you've endured. You show them that healing is not only possible, but transformative. And in that way, your story becomes part of something greater than yourself, a reminder that even in the face of profound harm, there is always the possibility of renewal and hope. So, as you move forward, hold tightly to that hope. Let it guide you through the difficult moments, the uncertain days, the times when the past threatens to overshadow the present. Let it remind you that life, for all its challenges and complexities, is still a gift that you have the power to cherish, to shape, and to live fully. And in doing so, you not only reclaim your life, you honor the deepest truth of who you are.